Good evening. To all of you sitting alone in the dark tonight, welcome to Thai Horror Story. Before we begin, I must ask you this. What is the most terrifying thing? A spirit that appears in a monstrous form, or faith twisted into a weapon? And what happens when that evil wears the very robes you are taught to revere? The tale we tell tonight is a legend passed down for decades across Thailand's northeast. A legend that didn't just cause fear, but shattered the fundamental beliefs of the people. The legend of the monk with the dog and the nun with the cat. Don Bok is a small village in Sisaket province where people lived simply, anchoring their spirits to the local temple. That was until 2 years ago. A new monk arrived, always carrying a large black dog that was held with an unnatural tenderness. The dog never wagged its tail, never barked. Its eyes were emotionless and seemed to look right through you. Luang Ta Bun Mi, the kindly old abbot, was the first to notice. The new monk never chanted with the others, kept to himself, and refused any deeper spiritual discussion. Soon after, the elderly nun arrived. She carried a pitch-black cat that only emitted a strange, constant rattling purr deep in its throat. The nun possessed a smile that was icy and unchanging, even when villagers offered her food. In the weeks that followed, the villagers' pets vanished more frequently, particularly Aidang, the most loyal dog in the village. One morning, they found only a trail of dog prints running at high speed before the tracks abruptly disappeared mid-path, as if it was lifted into the air. And the most unnerving thing was the metallic stench of raw entrails that wafted on the night wind, and a strange gurgling cry that sounded like choking, or the violent tearing of flesh. Coming from the edge of the village, Ta Huan, the old hunter, became the crucial witness. He saw the monk and the nun in the cemetery. They were pulling what looked like tendons from a carcass with their bare hands. Ta Huan tried to flee, but was caught by eye contact. When the monk turned, his eyes weren't black, but opaque white, surrounded by thick red veins, and his smile revealed sharp, elongated teeth. What Ta Huan saw before his vision failed was the black cat leaping close, and a tongue covered in tiny barbs extended from its mouth. The next morning, Ta Huan was found dead, his body shriveled, and chillingly, small purple bruises covered his skin, as if blood had been sucked out through the pores. And deep in his abdomen was a hard, unidentifiable mass, not something a human should possess. It was the remnant of a meal left behind. The tragedy of Ta Huan brought terror, but the deepest corruption began in the mind of Father Jom, a man who had chanted prayers since childhood. He lived next to the temple and watched the monk with the dog from his window. One afternoon, Father Jom saw the monk sitting by the Bodhi tree. The monk was silent, but Father Jom swore he heard a voice in his head, not loud, but a whisper that sounded like his own thoughts, questioning every scripture, every act of virtue. Why do you pray? Why do you fear? Your life is meaningless. As he held his rosary, the black dog slowly turned its head and stared directly into Father Jom's window. The dog didn't move, didn't bark, but Father Jom felt an intense, stabbing cold behind his eyes. He realized the creature wasn't just looking at him. It was implanting doubt into his soul. Father Jom was found the next morning sitting catatonic, his lips bleeding from biting them raw, whispering only one thing: "The dog sees my sin. The dog knows." This was the psychological warfare of the monk and the nun, targeting the soul before the body. We must now understand what these things truly were. Moh Tum Saeng, the Warlock Saeng, the village's shaman, revealed the legend of the Pob from the Mekong side. The monk and the nun were renegade students who tried to master the Flesh-Eating Pob spell for immortality, but the magic consumed them. They became vessels for a malevolent Pob spirit and had to find physical conduits for the spirit's true power. The black dog, the guardian ghoul, used to guide them through the dark and repel any local protective spirits. The black cat, the consuming fiend, possessed a specific spell that allowed its barbed tongue to drain bodily fluids with terrifying speed. The bodies of the monk and nun were merely shells for travel, allowing them to approach devout victims easily. Moh Tum Saeng performed the gruesome summoning the dead ritual, using candle wax dropped onto an unearthed skull to force the spirit to testify. Ta Huan's ghost appeared, giving a final shuddering warning. Moh Tum Saeng then issued his terrifying command: "If you hear chanting at night, plug your ears. Do not let your mind be hypnotized. It is the chant that commands you to open the door to death." He ordered the villagers to use unbleached sacred thread to seal their homes completely. It was the night of the dark moon, total blackness. The monk with the dog and the nun with the cat glided into the village. They stopped at Kun Yai Ma's grandmama house, a deeply compassionate woman. The monk began chanting in a distorted, elongated voice. It wasn't scripture, but a sound that was like a baby crying mixed with a monk's chant. It targeted the victim's mercy and compassion. Kun Yai Ma was compelled. Her hand trembled, moving to unlatch the door. Just before the cat pounced, Kun Yai Ma screamed the name of the Buddha. The scream caused the cat to hesitate for a split second, but it was too late. The black cat's barbed tongue did its work, and the scream was instantly silenced, leaving only the ripped, useless sacred thread. Moh Tum Saeng confirmed what they feared. The monk and the nun were using the Pop Banju technique, but the spell required more than just the animals. It needed unholy components forged in darkness. The Pob spirit was not just placed into the animal, it was fused with it. The warlock revealed that the monk had used hair collected from a corpse that died in sin to bind the dog's paws. The nun had used the preserved hearts of 7 black cats to forge the core of the spirit vessel inside her cat. This gave the cat's tongue the power to consume not just blood, but the very essence of the soul. They had turned the symbols of companionship, dog, and domesticity, cat, into portable, efficient harvesting machines for the Pob. The creatures were no longer alive. They were automata of flesh, controlled by the black souls wearing the robes. After the death of Kun Yai Ma, young Akai was paralyzed with fear. He sealed his small room with every piece of furniture he could find. Yet, fear has no physical barrier. Akai heard the dreaded, distorted chanting of the monk begin just outside his window. His mind screamed, but his body wouldn't move. He could feel the chilling pressure of the hypnotism taking hold, the urge to unlatch the door. Then, the chanting stopped. There was silence. Utter, choking silence. Akai thought it was over, until he heard a terrifying sound, the scraping of claws on the roof above him. The cat was trying to breach the house from the roof. Akai did the only thing he could. He screamed and threw his lantern at the ceiling. The distraction worked. The cat retreated, but Akai knew they will always find a way in. Moh Tum Saeng knew there was no escape. The battle had to end at the cremation pyre in the old cemetery. When they appeared, the robes and white cloth ripped away from the monk and nun, revealing dark, putrid skin. They fought not with strength, but with sorcery, summoning vast, shadowy figures resembling human organs to attack. Moh Tum Saeng used his Pob exorcism spell and his quicksilver-coated spirit knife. His targets, the vessels. When the warlock managed to pierce the black dog's eye, the dog shrieked, a sound so high and sharp it defied the laws of nature. And when the knife found the black cat's throat, the monk and nun's bodies violently burst into black blood and pus, followed by a final, hateful whisper before only empty, aged cloth remained. The trapped torment had finally ended. Peace returned. But the village was fundamentally broken. The monk with the dog and the nun with the cat left behind a terrible legacy: the destruction of faith. Moh Tum Saeng's final words echoed in the villagers' minds. The Pob in the robes is the most terrifying, because it causes people to lose faith in goodness itself, and that is the true victory of evil. The story is over, but not long ago, I was driving down a lonely rural road in Isan. On a moonless night, I saw two figures walking on the side of the road. One carried something large and black. The other carried something smaller. I don't know if they were a monk or a nun, and I didn't dare look. But I heard a sound, a dry, rattling purr, coming from the distance, and it followed me all the way home. Tonight, the darkness has found you. Will you dare to look outside?